To welcome everybody to.
Good afternoon, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for being on time. And welcome to our law firm management webinar on how law firms can access opportunities and grow their practice. This webinar is being hosted by the Law Firm Management Committee, section on legal practice. We're going to have 4 speakers. It promises to be a very interesting time because we have topics that we're discussing that are very, very relevant and directly affect how we as legal practitioners are able to grow our legal practice, develop our client base, and indeed optimize our offerings to clients. Now we have 4 speakers in total, and I'm going to be introducing the speakers just before they come on. But first, we're going to have some opening remarks from the chair of the Law Firm Management Committee, Mr. Kade Fabumi. And we're going to then have an opening address from the chairperson of the section on legal practice, Mrs. Folashade Ali. We'll go through an overview of the webinar and the objectives, and then we start. So please, I'm going to ask everybody to mute their mics. Let's pay attention as we proceed. Mr. Fabumi, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Viro Omponusu. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, Leonard Six present, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Law Firm Management Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, I warmly welcome you to this special webinar, and it's special because this is the first webinar that we are organizing as a committee. And we are fortunate to have to be working with our chairman, on Mrs. Folashade Ali SAN, who just recently took the helms of affairs as the NBA SLP chairperson. So our committee is saddled with responsibility of managing this law firm management committee. So this webinar is designed to run for 2 hours, where we will explore how firms can tap into 4 key opportunities pipeline, procurement, corporate, diaspora work, and also how we can project ourselves through branding and visibility. Just as the moderator has mentioned, our distinguished speakers have wealth of experience, have practical knowledge, and we're going to tap into their insights over the next 2 hours for us to rethink how we approach our client acquisition, credibility, and business growth. So we want to encourage you to engage actively, ask questions, take advantage of NBA SLP's webinar. Also, I'd like to thank all the panelists and the participants for joining us. I know at this time is a very busy period, but taking time to join us for us to have this sort of engagement, I believe would add value to everybody present. As I can see now, we have over 100 people on, and we believe that as we start off as a committee, we would have more and more engagements. As a matter of fact, we will be coming to you on a monthly basis with different offerings, so that our law firm practices would be richer for it. So I would like to hand over to the moderator, and I believe my chair is here, Mrs. Folashade Ali SAN, who will then deliver our opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished learned colleagues and the speakers and panelists here. It's indeed my pleasure to welcome everyone to this maiden edition of the webinar that's been organized by the Law Firm Management Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice. Our able chair of the committee, Mr. Claudio Fabian, has already told you that this is the first one that's been organized by them. And I truly thank every member of the Law Firm Management Committee, especially the Executive Committee, for their dedication in planning this impactful webinar. I must say it's the first that the section is having since I took over. So thank you very much for your hard work. As we begin this webinar, which is tagged, and I think is rightly tagged, how law firms can access opportunities and grow their practice. I think it's timely. It reminds me of a quote that says that in the middle of difficulty always lies opportunities. And I guess the opportunity we have here is what technology is doing to each and every one of us and the expectations of clients with globalization. I'm not going to go into what the session is about. Mine is to welcome you. I'm quite sure with the array of speakers that we have lined up, and in no particular order, I'd like to thank Professor Otubanjo. I truly appreciate you for your dedication in ensuring that SLP continues to be at the forefront. We're looking forward to gaining from your experience of branding and marketing. Mr. Kash Balogun, thank you. Chinwe Odiboegwu, I'm grateful for creating time from your busy schedule to be here this afternoon. And Mr. Yusuf Haruna, I can't wait to hear from you. And to my dear moderator extraordinaire, Mr. Viago Mpunuwosu, thank you so much for always creating time for the section on legal practice. We definitely are looking forward to an engaging and impactful session, which will be filled, I'm quite sure, with valuable insights into how all of us can grow our practice. So once again, I thank everyone for joining. Please take time to listen carefully. I'm quite sure it will be a time where we'll gain from the wisdom of the speakers here. And I do wish every one of you an engaging, inspiring, and impactful webinar. Thank you. And I look forward to being part of today's discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Leonard Silk.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support, and we shall continue to move the section forward.
Thank you.
I think without further ado, I think we've covered why we're here. Law firm management in 2025, 26, and all the way through to 2030 is of vital importance because we live in a time where people are able to generate agreements and be their own lawyers via AI. And what that means for law firm management, I think it makes it more essential, it makes it more impactful, and it makes it vital for us to be able to not only connect with our clients, but form relationships and use those relationships to drive how we're able to deliver value offerings. We're going to be hearing from our first speaker shortly. But before we do that, I'd like to ask a question. I'm not sure how many people work for themselves or work with other larger firms, but roughly, what percentage, I'm wondering what percentage of us, for those who are in active business development, where do most of your firm's briefs come from? Where do most of your firm's clients come from? If you can just take a few minutes to put that in the chat, just so I have a rough idea. In terms of volume being really low, Secretariat, please could you note, I've had a couple of complaints about the volume being really low. Could we increase?
It's not low, it's not low. Maybe it's the system. I mean, I can hear you well.
So maybe they would need to join in again. Samuel, please join in again. I think Oluwatoyin Itayo has also complained, so please join in again. But for the rest of us, in the chat, how do you generate most of your work? Where does most of your work come from? Feel free to all comment at the same time, and I'll start calling out the answers as I see it. Private sector. Let's be a bit more specific. Is it finance? Is it banks? Is it industry? Is it private, financial services? When we say private sector, corporate organization, banks, fantastic. Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Guitar. Referrals, litigation, SMEs, yes, fantastic. Referrals, okay. Referrals has come up quite a bit. Yes, corporate organizations, referrals. Corporate and private sector, oil and gas, yes. So one of the things I'm seeing in terms of feedback is referrals are one of the biggest forms in which business is generated. And even though we say from private sector or from corporate organizations, I'm not sure how many people actually cold call corporate organizations to say, here's how we can support your business moving forward. But what is clear is that referrals form a very big part of how we're generating our businesses. And I think that is very interesting. Corporate organization referrals, fantastic. So with the volume of people we have on the call, and we have about 125 people logged in, everybody clap for yourselves. This is fantastic for our first time. It's not doing too badly. Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you to the management committee of the Law Firm Management Committee, my associates. Thank you for spending the time. So let's move forward. I think referrals are way, I'm particularly forward to hearing from our speakers. And I think I will, sorry, Mr. Ahmed. Thankfully, you're muted, can't hear you, but we can see you. Let me see if, Mr. Ahmed, please mute. You can take your video off. If anybody is with Mr. Jamili Ahmed, he should please switch off his video. Thankfully, he's muted. Secretary, could you please assist in switching off his video? Now, our first speaker is currently the technical advisor to the Director General of ICRC, the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. He's a public reform specialist, has been in the public space in procurement management for over 20 years. So he specializes predominantly in procurement, public procurement. So he's been in the government space for over 20 years. He has held positions within BPE, EFCC, Ministry of Finance, Pension Transition Arrangement Directorates, and his current position, which is the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. He has a bachelor's degree in accounting, a master's he has an MBA and economics. And he's currently undertaking a PhD in South Africa. Please welcome Mr. Yusuf Haruna as he tells us about public procurement and how we can find opportunities within the public procurement space. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much, the moderator. Thank you, the Law Firm Management Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association, for this opportunity to speak to lawyers on procurement. As you all know, the legal profession plays a very important role in procurement practice. And we're happy to have this platform to come and speak to lawyers and learned people on the opportunities that exist in the procurement space. Interestingly, what we have, the topic of what we have is role and opportunities for the legal profession in public procurement. But for clarity, procurement has 3 streams, and it is important we have this clarity. That goes to tell you how wide the opportunities for lawyers are when it comes to procurement. This is my outline. We'll do introduction to procurement. We'll look at public procurement, we'll look at PPPs, we'll look at privatization, we'll look at opportunities and professional development in procurement, where lawyers can key in where they can go in the platforms are available for them to pick these opportunities. So broadly, procurement has 3 streams. And the 3 streams are the traditional procurement, that's the public procurement. That's what we call the conventional procurement. Then we have the public-private partnerships. Then we have the full privatization. Each of them is a procurement methodology. And interestingly for all the lawyers, each of them has an agency overseeing its implementation. For the traditional procurement, which we call conventional procurement, you have the Bureau for Public Procurement. For PPPs, you have the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. And for the full privatization, you have the Bureau for Public Enterprises, that's the BPE. So what are the differences between these 3 forms of procurement? For conventional procurement entails the award of contract by the federal government. This is government-funded procurement. This is where the Treasury provides the funding for the procurement. You are buying cars, you are building head offices, you are engaging lawyers to defend you in court. This public procurement. And part of the important aspect of the 3 procurement is where risks place. So in public procurement, government bears 100% of the risk because government is the one that engages you and pays you. So whether you deliver or don't deliver, the risk sits with the government. So that is traditional procurement. That is where 60% of the procurement is. So every government agency must give contracts. Everybody in the public service must engage services. And this is done by the Bureau for Public Procurement. The next one, where I sit now as the TA to the DG, is the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. And what we do here are basically public-private partnerships. So the word here is partnerships. This is where we get the private sector to partner with the federal government to deliver services, to raise revenues. And in the middle, if you notice, there's a risk spectrum down on this page. In the middle, the risk is shared between the private and the public. So the strong word here is partnership. This way we have the BOTs, the BO, different forms of it. And I give an instance that will make it easy for you. Like the airport, government gets someone, MM2, I mean, a lot of you have flown through the MM2. The MM2 in Lagos is PPP. Our government did was to give Biocottney a bare piece of land. And Biocottney was able to develop it, build it, run it over a period of time. They will make their money at the end of it. Once they recover their money, make some profit, they hand it back to the government. So that's a typical example of a public-private partnership. It can be in services too. The current Nigerian passport regime is being done by private individuals. All immigration does is to issue a passport. But the back end is being handled by a private person for the past few years. And that's why you see the efficiency. There are always passports for things like that. For privatization, which is handled by the Bureau of Public Enterprises, what they do is full privatization. And this entails full divestiture. What that means is government selling off assets. A good example is the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja, Royal Palace Hotel in Lagos. Those used to be government assets. But the government realized, why are we in business competing with our citizens? And government sold them off to private people to manage, to take over. So in privatization, the ownership changes fully to a private person. In PPPs, government still retains ownership. After a period, I mean, it takes it back to the government. And in privatization is 100% risk borne by the private party. Because if I pay $1 billion to take an asset from the government, the asset doesn't work. Government has taken its money and government is off. The person who is buying is the one who bears all the risks, I mean, who takes all the knocks. So just to give you means, I mean, as a lawyer, you can play in public procurement. You can play in public partnership, and you can play in privatization. So the options are there for you. And these agencies have operated for long. BP has been there for almost 40 years, doing a lot of things. ICRC is about 16 years old, and the BPP is about 20 years old. So these are government agencies, I mean, and the legal profession is at the core of everything we do, because at the end of it, everything ends up in a contract. Everything ends up in an agreement. And this is your playground. So the options are tremendous. What happens, I mean, within this spectrum, I mean, is huge for lawyers. Yeah, just to give you a perspective, I mean, when we say procurement, it's not just one. There are three different forms, and each form has the law setting it up, not just a committee. An act of parliament setting up each of these agencies to implement each of these procurement processes. So just to give you an overview of what it entails. That's in public-private partnerships. So from start to finish, we require legal involvement. There's the issue of compliance, because the private people are bringing in resources, they're bringing in investment. The market doesn't have emotion. The market is not sentimental when it comes to business. Everybody wants to be sure these things are done properly. So when it comes to compliance with legal and regulatory frameworks that we have in place, lawyers have a big role to play in ensuring the frameworks are being respected. Issues of risk. We need lawyers to come in most times when we are doing transactions to analyze transactions and tell you where the loopholes are, where the gaps are, where the risks are, and what are the mitigants. So that's the role for lawyers too in the process. Contract negotiations. Since this is a partnership that I mean, most times spans 10 to 30, 40 years, you need to negotiate very strong contracts. Who are those strong in contracts? Are the lawyers, even though, I mean, the argument is contracts are not strictly legal. We agree. But, I mean, the role of the lawyer in contracts, I mean, is a bigger role than any other party who is coming to make contributions. So the contract negotiation is huge. Because the agreements, your lawyers, I mean, there'll always be disputes. There'll always be disputes. So once you have dispute, who do you fall back to? Lawyers. Is it arbitration? Is it mediation? Is it litigation? Anything? We still go back to the lawyers. Advisories. We still need lawyers to come in once in a while, I mean, to advise us on some things. Some of the policies we are bringing on board, or some of the policies we're implementing, and what the implications are on people, on the system, on other laws. Due diligence is huge. Due diligence is massive. Yeah, I remember, I mean, a very interesting example. We had this lawyer, when I worked in the Ministry of Finance, we were looking for a lawyer to work on a project with us. I remember then 10 years ago, what we were offering him was about $15,000 a month to come in and sit down with us. The day we had a negotiation, when he came in, his argument was, I mean, I advised a lot of foreign clients that are coming to invest here. And my charge out rate is $1,000 per day. He's an individual consultant, so he's not a firm. I charge $1,000 daily. You're offering me $15,000. I'm not sure I can take it. And I realized, because he's operating in a niche market, he has so much beyond what he can even take. And that's where the issue of specialization comes in for lawyers. As we move on, I know we spoke about specialization for lawyers, yeah. Then litigation support. Even though I know the litigations are not as many as it used to be since the coming of the ICRC, the BPP, and the BPE. Now we have strong frameworks for procurement. So that makes it easy for you to run very successful and very clean processes. So the level of litigation has reduced, but I mean, not completely. We still have a few, but not as not what it used to be. So if we look at it in the PPP spectrum, lawyers have, a very huge role to play from start to finish. Then if we go to the next one, that's the public procurement. Public procurement, so the differences are not too many. It's the issue of legal compliance to be sure, whatever you're going into complies with other laws, complies with the framework, complies with the guidelines. Lawyers have this role to play. Issue of coming up with documents, coming up with draft contract, coming up with bidding documents, coming up with info memo. Lawyers are strongest when it comes to that. It's an advisory, as I said earlier, dispute resolution, training and education. We found out, in the last, since we've been on this, some of the best people we've had when it comes to some of these things are lawyers. Some of the best brains we have in procurement and people with legal background have transitioned into procurement. Some of them are lawyers because of their training and because of their background. It's easy for them to train, easy for them to put things together. Then policy development. Lawyers help in drafting policies that shape procurement. Then litigation, just the way we have in the other form of procurement. Then in privatization, that's the last form of procurement. Because privatization involves wholesale divestiture. That means everything leaves, government lets everything go. This takes a lot of, the due diligence here is huge. Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we are. Please carry on, sir. Everybody
Okay,
is muted.
okay,
because
thank you.
nobody wants to interrupt.
So for
Thank you.
privatization, it's still the issue of
Yes, we are.
compliance. When people come to take over government assets, they want to be sure the titles are right. They want to be sure. Oh, okay, thank you so much. So for privatization, because there's no partnership, it's more like government selling fully and giving you everything to go. You go with all the risks and everything. The issue of compliance. Okay, thank you so much. The issue of compliance becomes a lot more important here, a lot more critical here. So most people are trying to be sure the assets they are taking does they have encumbrances, the titles are neat, and they're not entitled to it. So the moment you have it, you know you are taking a clean asset. We've had situations in the past where people take assets without doing proper due diligence. They go out there and they run into crisis. Then the issue of drafting agreements, negotiating contracts, then regulatory approvals. So for privatization, it's the same thing. From beginning to the end, you have a very huge role for lawyers to play. Just like what you have in public procurement and what you have in PPPs. Then what are the types of legal professionals that we need that are involved in most of these things? I know we have the general lawyers, that do litigation, they have a big role to play. But because what we are doing is a lot more corporate and everything, that takes us to the area of specialization. At this point, we are looking for a lot more, we're looking for lawyers that are specialized. We're looking for experts, no more generic lawyers. So that is where, the law firms and the law professionals must deviate towards. Yes, the world is moving towards expertise, towards professionalism. And I give you an example. About 20 years ago, when we were doing one of the telecom transactions, we had to go all the way to London to get someone to come and do a contract for the federal government to sign, because then the telecom revolution has not come into the country yet. And we had no telecom lawyers in Nigeria then. We had to get the UK law firm that were expert in telecom and do a contract for us. We did the same thing with power 20 years ago when we were doing the power reforms under President Obasanjo. But in the last 20 years, the economy has opened, so much has happened, and a lot more expertise. We don't have to go and get experts anymore. That's how much, the legal profession has moved. And credit to, I think, all of you for taking advantage of it. So corporate lawyers, we always have a role to play. Mergers and acquisitions, public offerings. There's so much you can do within the space. And those are procurement issues. Then we have procurement lawyers. All they do is procurement. They understand procurement. They can pick a document and analyze it for you and tell you what is there and what is not there or where the gaps are. But unfortunately, there are not too many in the country. There are not too many. When we sit on this side of the table, we can count them on our fingers. And that's where, for me, for the lawyers, there's still so much room. And I'm sure this is about information. Possibly this information is not out there, but we're hoping after this, we can do a lot more. Then we have contract specialists. All they do is come up with contracts and analyze contract for you, issue of, termination, compensation, risks. And once you go through a contract, you're comfortable to proceed with it. Then we have regulatory experts. They look at sector rules, they look at frameworks for legal frameworks, they look at everything. Then the sector specialist, this is the broader thing. So you're looking at IT, they're legal, the lawyers that are experts in IT, they're maritime lawyers, they're aviation lawyers. So the spectrum is huge. So my advice is for lawyers is at this point, people must look at where they're financial and look at the future. The world is moving. Everybody must specialize. Yeah, there's room for litigation, there's room for everything, but we are going a lot more specialized. The economy is growing, so much is happening. People should sit down, look at what the future is, and build skill set, and trying to build a lot more capacity. Yeah. But from this side, there's so much. The options we have are not too many, and that's the truth. I'm being very open with you. The options we have are not too many. We'll still sit down and still look for lawyers, and we don't get lawyers. At the level where we want. So it's just a few big firms. At every point, everything goes around a few people, which is fine. But the point is, the opportunities are huge. So people should, comfortably go into them. Everybody cannot be doing oil and gas. Everybody cannot be doing this. But public service is about procurement. Just for you to understand, public service is 80% procurement. Just to give you an idea of how huge the opportunities are, how huge. So it's something that people should move back, look at the spectrum, look at the value chain and see where you feel comfortable to play. Yeah, but the options are there, and the system is open, to taking as many people as possible because the economy is growing. We're getting a lot more interest from everywhere. The country is very open now. Internationally, people are coming. Nigerians are coming up to do a lot too. There's a partnership with the government. But they can't sit down here, and do everything alone. You need third-party interest, you need third-party opinion, you need third-party advice, you need third-party view, to get the best of some of this agreement, to some of these conclusions. How do people get into these spaces?
Mr. Haruna, we seem to have lost you momentarily. So we can see the video, we can see the presentation, but we can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, you're back. You're back. Thank you. No, you've muted yourself. Please unmute and carry on. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So where are the opportunities for lawyers? How do you get into these spaces? Professional associations, you have the MBA. We have an association for procurement professionals. That's a big place that people can get interested. A lot of lawyers have come on to register, write the exams, do the certification, and they're now procurement experts. That gives them an opportunity. Continuing education. There are a lot of courses going on. People going to register, you're lawyers, but you can do anything. You can do finance, you can do financial modeling, you can do anything. Those are platforms that you go in and you meet people, sector players, workshop and conferences. We've tried to arrange a few workshops and conferences with partner agencies just to give people this exposure to know what exists, what the opportunities are, and where they can play in. We had one sometime in June, which was hugely successful. there are people who came in, a lot of people, and 80% of people that came, I mean, they didn't know a lot of things, I mean, they found out were happening. Yes. So, I mean, that has actually helped. I mean, to give social media, I mean, you go in there, LinkedIn and everything, you throw profiles in, you can get opportunities. Introduction, that's what I mean. So maybe these are more about referrals. Yes. The good ones will always be here. Mr. Kayode, I mean, we've done a lot of work with the
Sorry, sir, we're losing you again.
Just for us. So when it comes for us
Sorry,
to
sir,
come
we can't hear you properly. Can you mute yourself and come back?
because I mean he's been a partner. We had the consultation for the last years. He's been doing trainings, and so the opportunities.
So my apologies, everyone. I think his internet connection is struggling a bit, but I am sure he is going to come back in shortly. But while we're waiting for him, I think one of the key things we've picked up is beyond working in government, there's also something else to explore, which is working in the public procurement space. And we've seen that under conventional public procurement, there are opportunities there. There are also opportunities within the public-private partnership and then full privatization. And there are lots of roles from legal compliance, risk management, to dispute resolution, advisory, and due diligence. And I think that piqued everyone's interest was really, how do we get work in public procurement? I will save the rest of my overview for the end, when we're now able to ask everybody and all the participants questions. But for now, yes, I believe Mr. Harner is back. I think I can see him back in the meeting. Mr. Harner, we can't hear you. Do you want to?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So I think this is my last slide, but I think I've given an overview, a perspective of what exists within the public procurement spectrum for lawyers, for people that are out there that want to come in and play in this space. They feel comfortable, they should look out. They should come in, build capacity, get involved in a lot of things. And the opportunities, there are options for everyone to play in. It's a major space, a massive space. So it's open for partnerships. Maybe let me end it that way. Thank you so much for the chance. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. We truly appreciate the wealth of experience that you've shared, and also the tips in terms of being able to enter this profession and specialize and excel. I'm sure there are going to be lots of questions for you. We'll save the questions till the end. I can see round of applauses going up and down. So it shows how impactful your presentation has been. Now we're moving on to our second speaker because time is against us. And in fact, I think each one of these people could have spoken for 1 hour, still get value from their presentations. Unfortunately, we're having to manage our time and do this within 2 hours. So I'm now going to introduce our next speaker, who's speaking about the diaspora and how we can engage with the diaspora in terms of having individual clients and also possibly corporate clients within that space. He has been in practice for quite a while. And when I say quite a while, he's been practicing for over, I believe, almost 20 years. He's a partner at Keystone Law, which is an international firm headquartered in the UK and known for its innovative approach to client service. I'm very interested in that. He's also the chair of the British Nigerian Law Forum, which is an association of British and Nigerian law firms, and he's an experienced leader in the legal profession. He's worked at BP Pitmans, Clifford Chance, Skadden, and he's recognized on the Legal 500 as a distinguished commercial litigator and arbitrator with extensive experience in construction, oil and gas, and finance. Please welcome Mr. Cash Balogun.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear, and we can see you.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. It really is a pleasure to be with you all today. I'd like to say a special thank you to the Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice and Mr. Fabumi for inviting me. It really is a pleasure. I was going to introduce myself, but after that lovely introduction from Mr. Vievo, I don't think I need to say any more. Thank you very much for that. So rather, over the next few minutes, I hope to provide you with a bit of insight on a subject that is increasingly shaping the future of Nigerian legal practice, which is serving the diaspora and building cross-border credibility. So Nigeria's diaspora is one of the most vibrant in the world. It includes professionals, entrepreneurs, investors, a lot of high net worth families, all deeply connected to home, deeply connected to Nigeria. They send over 20 billion US dollars every year in remittances. But beyond money transfers, there's a strong need for trusted legal advice. So you need advice on they need advice on property, inheritance, family matters, but also on corporate deals. A lot of cross-border business is being done. Now, this is a major opportunity for Nigerian law firms to position themselves as the trusted advisors to this community, because whether the community likes it or not, they need Nigerian lawyers. Now, that, though, places responsibility on Nigerian lawyers to be able to show that they have credibility, that they're efficient, and they can provide service quality that meets global expectations. And I hope to talk a bit more about this. So it's really all about building that trust and credibility. Now, diaspora clients are often quite cautious. Whether it is justified or not, it appears to be the case. And this is because many have heard unfortunate stories. And it's quite similar to a lot of stories you hear about lawyers generally. So the first thing that they look for is trust. And that trust is built on professionalism and transparency. And I think you can build this by doing a few really general things. One is responding promptly to queries. So even if it is just to say, thank you, I've received your email, we will get back to you shortly. As long as that comes, I set a target for myself that anything that comes through, I have to respond to that within 12 hours. And then you've also got to be very clear with your fees and your scope. There's nothing that causes more dispute between diaspora clients and their lawyers rather than arguing over fees and the scope. Everyone needs to be clear on where they stand on who is providing what and what needs to be done and how much that's going to cost. I also believe in giving regular updates. Silence creates anxiety, and so especially because of the distance between a diaspora client and a firm in Nigeria, they want to know that things are happening. So even if it is an update to say, we've done this and we've done that, but we're waiting to hear back from this agency or that agency, that helps. And it helps to reduce that anxiety. And also, delivering when you say you will. I think this is really important. I'm a great believer that it's better to over deliver than under deliver, as that builds trust. So even if you have to, put in extra time for yourself when you are creating your scope and your fee estimates, I think that's better than saying you do it when at a time when you can't actually do it. So it's really not about having an international office. I believe it's all about delivering global level services. And then that's a key to building that trust and getting diaspora clients. And remember, the trust works both ways. It's also important to verify your clients because they're now abroad and you don't actually get to see them in person most of the times. So it's important to ensure that you do your KYC, you confirm your IDs, and you ensure that the funds are coming from legitimate channels because we lawyers also get scammed. And you'd be surprised that you do a lot of work and nothing comes through, your fees don't come through, and it's actually hard to get to the client to ensure that you get paid. So the trust actually works both ways. And we also need to try and ensure that we do our due diligence on our clients. Now, one of the most important ways I think of ensuring one can get those diaspora clients is in collaboration and building collaboration across borders. A powerful way and it's a powerful way to build credibility. I think Nigerian firms can collaborate with diaspora-based lawyers or organizations, like using the British Nigeria Law Forum, for instance. I think our moderator explained about the BNLF, which is it's a not-for-profit organization that creates a forum to enable lawyers in the UK and in Nigeria to collaborate and to work together and to cross-refer work within each other. And it's not the only one. There are a lot of other cross-border organizations like that create such forums, and it's a great place to network. And why it's important is because it helps you to build relationships with people that will speak about you in rooms that you're not in. And that helps to build that credibility for you. I mean, many diaspora clients come to us, when I say us, the British Nigeria Law Forum, seeking reliable Nigerian firms, and we often refer them on. And likewise, Nigerian firms refer work that needs input from lawyers abroad. And so I don't see it as competition. I think it's more about ensuring that our law firms abroad and law firms in Nigeria collaborate. So you can have a formal collaboration and have a referral arrangement in place that's formally written down, or really it can just be a best friends relationship that doesn't require any sort of formality to it, but just each person is aware of what the other person can do and is there to refer them to people that require their services. So I think that's a great way of building that credibility. Another thing that helps, which I've touched on earlier, is creating exceptional client experience. That all helps with winning at least one diaspora client, which is good. But keeping them and earning referrals, that's even better. And 4 key habits that I think are essential in doing this are: 1, clarity. explaining the process of what you're going to be doing for the client, ensuring that it's done on time, and ensuring that it's done to the fee quote that you've given. Now, I always say I actually think Nigerian lawyers do this much better than we do in the UK, particularly on fee estimates. From my experience, Nigerian law firms are quite comfortable with giving fixed fee estimates, which clients, particularly diaspora clients, love. While we here in the UK still prefer to work on a time basis and don't feel as comfortable giving fixed fees. So I think that's one thing where I think helps to build that trust and credibility and build that relationship with diaspora clients, and also being proactive, being able to update clients before they chase you. 3, giving value. So it's not just about doing the work that the client has given you. If we're trying to ensure that we keep this client and have them continuously giving us work, I think it's important to share insight on things that are going on around in Nigeria. So a short newsletter or video about changes in the different laws in Nigeria, property laws, inheritance laws, that goes a very long way. And then building that relationship, that personal relationship with either the CEO or if it's an individual client, with that individual client. So checking up on them even after the work that you've completed, going out to have lunch or having a drink with them and just building up that personal relationship. And if because they're abroad, just giving phone call to check up on them. People find this they find that you care and it's not just about the work that you've done. So your service, I would say, is your marketing, and that helps you to reach these diaspora clients. The last thing I would really talk about is about visibility. To attract diaspora clients, firms must be visible and credible. I think it's important to join diaspora networks like the IBA, Chambers of Commerce, the British Nigeria Law Forum. These are the places where you will meet with lawyers that can refer work to you. I noticed when the poll went out about where do people get their work from, a lot of people have said it's through referrals. And these are the places where you can build relationships with other law firms to get those referrals. I, for one, I've built an Africa practice, despite the fact that I'm here in the UK, but most of my work comes from Africa, particularly Nigeria. And a lot of that has come from referrals from other law firms. It has meant me building relationships with a lot of Nigerian lawyers. And that has been done by me being involved in networks like the NBA section on business law, the NBA SLP, the British Nigeria Law Forum, the IBA. I get involved in everything just so that I can be as visible as possible and meet with people that can actually refer work to me. I'd also say it's important to go out there and not just be part of the networks, but actually attend, like a lot of you are doing now, attending these seminars, attending the webinars, but attending also the in-person conferences. And, if you've got a bit of money in your pocket, also sponsor, because that increases your visibility within those networks. Another important thing that people, I think, don't pay as much attention to, but does give you that visibility and credibility, is maintaining a professional and clear website. There've been cases where I've known of good lawyers that I've referred on to clients, only for the client to come back and say, how come they don't have a website, or the website is not very clear. One is it doesn't look good on the lawyer, and two, it doesn't look good on me as the referrer. So I now make sure I do my due diligence and ensure that whoever I'm referring actually has a good website that markets them well. Because it's not just about what I say, the client's also going to do their own due diligence. And LinkedIn is, I think, very important for lawyers, not just in terms of marketing yourself, but also to help help with credibility. Definitely with diaspora clients, once they've been referred a law firm in Nigeria, the first thing they do is look up that law firm or look up that individual on LinkedIn to see what it is that they've actually done, to try and see, where they've come from. And also, it's important to be visible on LinkedIn, as that's an area where people like constantly looking, constantly trying to get insights on things that are happening all over the world. For example, we had a US law firm approach us at the British Nigeria Law Forum for a Nigerian firm that specializes in tax law, and we referred about 3 law firms to them, but they didn't go for any of those 3 law firms. Rather, they went for a Nigerian law firm that they'd come across on LinkedIn that done a news article on that particular area of tax law. So it's really important to be out there on LinkedIn and on other social medias like that. I think my time is done, so I would simply say diaspora work is all about trust, communication, and connection. If we build stronger professional bridges between Nigeria and the diaspora, we won't just grow our firms, we'll enhance the global reputation of Nigerian legal services. So thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Fantastic, Cash. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for a very enlightening session. And, I was particularly curious about this because, again, with the Nigerian British Forum, I think I speak for myself, but I'm sure a few people have already Googled it and gone to go and investigate and would be promptly joining to ensure that we get as much visibility, and we're also participating in the necessary associations in order for us to become more visible. You're getting a lot of applause. Thank you very much. And thank you for the time. I appreciate it's quite a bit of time. And I'm looking at the time, and we've been here for an hour, and it doesn't seem like an hour because everything has been very engaging. So thank you very much, Cash. Please have your questions ready. There will be a section after all the speakers have spoken where we will direct the relevant questions to the relevant speaker. And so get ready. We've had Mr. Cash Balogun, Managing Partner at Keystone Law. Thank you very much indeed, Cash. And we shall be compiling your questions, getting ready for you. So next up, we have another speaker, and it's actually very interesting because the other speaker is dealing with a topic that Cash has just touched on, and it's area visibility. So this speaker is a professor of marketing at the Lagos Business School. He heads the strategic marketing and branding modules for the LBS's Chief Executive Program, their Advanced Management Program, and I think the Executive MBA as well. He has been working in branding and marketing for over 20 years. So he has practical experience as well as, should I say, theoretical experience. He was a visiting professor at the Yale School of Management, very impressive. And he's a visiting professor at Warwick Business School as well. He has numerous qualifications from Wharton, University of London, I've mentioned Yale, also University of Yale and Wharton. And he comes very, very, very highly recommended. He's somewhat of a guru in his space, which is why he's a professor. And being a professor in this case is not theoretical. He's a professor because he has practiced. Please welcome Professor Tayo Otubanjo. Professor.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you
very much indeed, sir.
All right. First and foremost, let me thank the organizers of this particular webinar for inviting me. The invite came at very, very short notice because this is a very busy period, not just for us as consultants, but also for us as academics at Lagos Business School. This is the period where every company wants to exhaust their budget, the budget that they have not exhausted during the year. So very quickly, I'm going to be sharing my materials with you. And I am going to be talking about positioning and visibility. So I hope you can all see my slides.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me see how I can take this off. Okay, yes, that's it. I'm trying to hide the panel. Okay, good. So I'm talking about firm positioning and strategic visibility, and we'll be taking lessons from various organizations, particularly various legal firms around the world. This topic strikes at the heart of two important concepts. The first one is strategic positioning, and of course, the second one is strategic visibility. However, it is important to discuss, it is impossible to discuss strategic positioning and strategic visibility without a dive into the related concepts of corporate brand value proposition and consistent messaging. Consequently, the four aforementioned concepts will underpin the conversation in this segment. These include strategic visibility, brand value proposition, one consistent message, and brand positioning. Now, going straight off to brand value proposition. Now, when you talk about proposition, you cannot talk about positioning, brand value proposition without talking about positioning. Now, positioning is the strategic process of defining how a brand is perceived in the minds of consumers. It involves creating a unique space in the market by communicating the distinct value proposition to a specific target audience. Now, the key word here, the key or the strategic word here, or the strategic theme here is value proposition. Now, when you say value proposition, it simply means give me a reason to buy. As a business organization, whether you are a law firm, whether you are a bank, whether you are a telecoms company, you must have a reason, you must give customers a reason to buy. Take, for instance, MTN. MTN will say, everywhere you go. It is not a slogan per se. It is the reason to buy, meaning that Wherever you go in Nigeria, you will find our signals there. And that is the reason to buy from MTN. So before we go into law practice, I'm going to share with you the value proposition of 4 auto companies that we all use in Nigeria. Volvo. Why do we buy Volvo? What is the reason for buying Volvo? The reason for buying Volvo is safety. Apologies, I wrote luxury. The reason for buying Volvo is safety. What is the reason for buying Mercedes? Luxury. What is the reason for buying BMW? The experience, the ultimate driving machine. What is the reason for buying Toyota? It is because of economy. It is the cheapest car to maintain. Why do we buy Honda? Because we are looking for dreams. We are dreamers. All right. These are 4 companies. I mean, these are 4 brands, 4 car brands, and the reason why we buy them. Now, let's go into law practice. The British law practice. There's a company called Farah and Company, and the reason to do business with Farah and Company is clear thinking, best solutions. Please note, this is not a slogan. This is the reason to do business with Farah and Company. Shoesmiths. What is the reason for doing business? Why do clients do business with Shoesmiths in the UK? The reason they do business with Shoesmiths is for what matters. Why do we do business? Why do businesses and individuals do business with Travers and Smith? Because of diversity and independence of thought, meaning that lawyers within that firm are diverse in culture, where they come from, and also they all have independence of thought. Stevenson Harwood. Why do we do business? Why do clients do business with Stevenson Harwood? Positive partnerships. If you do business with Stephen Howard, you are going to enjoy the virtue of positive partnerships. Clifford Chance. The reason to do business with Clifford Chance is leading global offering, high quality experience. These are the reasons to do business with Clifford Chance. Ashurst. The reason to do business with Ashurst is outpacing change. The reason to do business with Argento is significant savings, exceptional quality. That is, if you are looking for a law firm that will save you money, that's economical, you can do business with Argento. Now, let us look at Nigeria's law practice, Nigeria's law practice sector. This is where there's a problem. Templars. My belief is that Templars is one of the distinguished law firms we have in Nigeria. Unfortunately, I have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Olaniwun Ajayi, one of the leading law firms in Nigeria as well. Unfortunately, we have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Udo Udoma, Bello Osagi, distinguished law firm, top law firm. Unfortunately, we have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Alukwano Yebode, ALN. Once again, unfortunately, I have no clue, or we have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Banwa Nigodalo. Again, we have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Kena. Again, we have no clue why anybody should do business with them. G. Elias. The same thing. We have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Bloomfield. We have no clue why anybody should do business with them. Now, the lesson here is that a corporate value proposition must be defined and communicated actively. I strongly believe that these organizations that I've listed, these top law firms that I've listed, there is a reason to do business with them. There is a reason to appoint them as your law firm. But for me as an onlooker, I'm not a lawyer. For me as somebody outside the law profession, I have no clue whatsoever why I should appoint, or the companies in which I sit on their boards should appoint any of them as the top, as legal advisor, other than the fact that they are just top law firms. Big lesson. The second conversation that I'd like to have very, very quickly, it's raining here. The second conversation I'd like to have very, very quick is corporate brand positioning. Now, for us to discuss corporate brand positioning, we have to look at it from the perspective of competitiveness. Now, there is an institution called Legal 500, EMEA. Now, according to Legal 500, these are the top law firms in Nigeria. According to Legal 500, and of course, other online resources, these are the top law firms in Nigeria. Right. Now, for each of these law firms, we try to look at them one after the other. What their logos are telling us. Templars identity is a word mark. It symbolizes African leadership and innovation. Olaniwun Ajayi is a combination mark. It represents leadership and dynamism, according to online sources. Udo Udoma and Bello Osagi, the identity is a combination mark. It represents the values of diversity, openness, inclusion, and aspiration. Aluko Anoyebode, the identity is a combination mark. It is designed to reflect international standards, local expertise. ILEX, the identity is a word mark. It represents introduction of new and original ways of thinking. Banwa and Igodalu, the identity is a combination mark. It symbolizes, according to them, it symbolizes innovation, competent legal solutions, clarity, strength, and professionalism. Kena is a word mark. It represents the firm's values and identity as a respected law firm in Nigeria. G. Elias is a word mark. It represents African leadership expertise and unique perspective in business law. Bloomfield, another combination mark. It represents excellence, passion, integrity, and commitment. Alliance Law Firm. The logo is a combination mark. It represents the virtues of excellence, experience, expertise, and innovation. DLA Piper is another combination mark. It conveys a sense of strength, innovation, global reach, and it reflects the firm's position as a large international law firm. Jackson, Etienne, Edu. It is a combination mark. It represents the values of trust, expertise, client centricity, and so on. Pavestones is another combination mark. It represents foundation, structure, progress, and laying the groundwork for client success. DLHQ, another word mark. It represents business philosophy and value creation. Odujirin and Adefulu's logo symbolizes history, growth, and future vision. Now, put together, this is a summary of these brands, the meanings that could be generated from the logos of these companies. Now, when you put it on a map, this is how it looks. What does this mean? It means that the identities of these companies are generic. Big problem. It means the identities of these companies are what? They are generic. Big problem. There are two segments here where there is no firm. One of the most valuable and most sought after logo globally is Apple. Simple, no text. It's just Apple. The symbol, the imagery of Apple, and it is one of the most powerful logos, powerful visual identities in the world. Now, what could be responsible for generic identity? The culture of mimetic isomorphism. What does that mean? Copying yourselves, copying everybody copyable. Now, let us look at British brands, British law brands. Now, when you look at what we did was to look at the top 10 British law firms to see how they are differentiating themselves. Now, because we are pressed for time, I'm unable to share the campaign containing the brand positions of these law firms. But importantly, this is how the law firms in UK are positioning. They have created a position, and this is how it looks. The same problem. It creates a generic identity because nearly all of them are saying almost the same thing, and it is creating serious generic identity in that sector. Now, the genericity in British brands has been recorded in a number of literature. It is not just British, it is, and the issue is this: it is not just law firms that have this problem. Even banks have the same problem. Years ago, the British banking institutions had the problem of genericity. They solved the problem. They are going back again to generic identity conclave. But there you go. So the point I'm making here is this: it is not just in Nigeria that we have the challenge of generic identity, but I think because it is in UK, it may be a global phenomenon. I've talked about this. Now, let me say one more thing before I go, and this speaks to Nigerian law firms as well. Now, when you are building a brand, pedestally, at the most pedestal level, you need 5 things. You need a mission statement, you need a value proposition, you need a slogan, you need core values, and your logo. Now, most of the time, what happens is that the mission goes in a different direction, the value proposition goes in another direction, the slogan goes in another direction, the core values go in another direction, and corporate logo goes in another direction. This creates a lot of problems for whoever is responsible for managing these brands. Nearly every firm globally is guilty. Most firms globally are guilty. And I've spent a career speaking all over the world at business schools around the world, encouraging firms to change the ways brands are built. When you build a brand and all the components are saying different things to different customers, saying different things to customers at the same time, you are creating a problem. How are you creating a problem? The customer is incapable. The customer is incapable of taking too many things at the same time. The customer is only capable of effectively taking one message about your brand at a go. Now, let's look at Jackson, a T and a do. There is no theme that ties this conversation together. The mission statement is saying something completely different. The core values saying something completely different, Value proposition, something completely different. I mean, value proposition, we don't know, we have no clue. Slogan, we have no clue. Logo, we don't know what it means. So there is poor integration. In fact, zero integration here. Alliance Law Firm, the same thing. These are the top law firms in Nigeria. Paul Usoro, the same thing. Now, Udo Udoma, the same thing. Now, when you create a brand and your messagings, you have different messages saying different things at the same time, then it becomes very difficult for the customer to tie your brand to one thing, because the customer can only comprehend one message at the same time. Ditto for G. Elias. Now, I've just spoken about the reason why there's a need for consistency. Maybe what I'm talking about doesn't make sense. The next slides will probably make it to make sense. Let's look at Shoesmiths in the UK. Now, in the mission, you have what matters. In the core values, you have what matters. In the value proposition, you have what matters. In the slogan, what matters. Essentially, what matters has created a theme running through all the components of the brand. Essentially, for Shoesmiths, what matters is what makes up the brand. In essence, when the CEO or the managing partner, I don't know whether they're called managing partners in law, but whenever at any point in time, even at the point of sleeping, at the point of sleep, and you are just waking up, you are asked about your mission statement. The moment you remember that what matters is critical to my mission statement, it is central to my core values, it is central to my value proposition, it is central to my slogan, then it is easier for you to speak over the components of your brand, just in case you are being accosted for interview. Same thing with Stevenson Harwood. Positive relationship runs across most of the components of the brand. Ditto for Ashurst. Outpacing change runs across the mission, core values, value proposition, slogan, and so on. Bloomfield is a Nigerian company. I was pleasantly surprised what you have in the mission statement. Perhaps by incident, maybe it's a coincidence. We have excellence in the mission, you have excellence in the core values, excellence as value proposition, and the meaning of the logo is believed to be epic, excellence. So my belief is that perhaps Bloomfield has done a good job in this regard. In terms of strategic visibility, let me just end with this. Now, marketing is not an expenditure. It is an investment. I like to say that again. Marketing is not an expenditure. It is an investment. Let me sing a very short, song. Wise men bank with UBA, and we meant to with UBA. Start a savings account today with UBA. I know that as I was singing that particular song, some of you are singing along with me. Why were you singing along with me? You were singing along with me because this is a brand that UBA invested in that brand many, many years ago. Some time ago, UBA tried to discontinue that song. For some reason, they brought it back. Marketing is an investment. For law firms, you've got to pay conscious attention to your investments in marketing. Unfortunately, because we are pressed for time, I will not be able to say more about how to invest in marketing in law firms. But of course, there are numerous examples that we can draw from the health sector, from the alcohol sector, what they are doing in spite of the law that gags them from advertising, what they are doing to ensure that their brands are effectively communicated. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you very much for a masterclass in brand visibility and marketing. I know you didn't really get to the marketing part, but it was predominantly brand visibility. But I'd like to thank you. We had spoken earlier. I had a sense that when you actually had the opportunity to speak to all of us, it will be a very impactful session. And I am particularly interested in the branding and visibility side of things, because I think even though as lawyers, we have restrictions on how we can present ourselves, there are ways around the restrictions. And it's something that I think we will benefit from. So I'm going to crave your indulgence and tell you in advance that there's going to be another webinar that we're going to do focusing entirely on brand visibility and positioning. Because one of the most important things from your lecture, and that I'm also aware of, is if your brand is not visible, nobody sees you. If nobody sees you, nobody can hire you. If nobody hires you, your firm dies. And that is something that I am very, very conscious of. So thank you very much indeed, Prof. We shall crave your indulgence to move swiftly on and keep the questions, I think, to the last 15 minutes. And I know there are going to be lots of questions. Please put your questions in the chat, as I shall be noting and then asking the panel together. But thank you very much indeed, Professor Tayo. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the insight that you've shared, as do everybody else on the call. Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure.
Now, I told the last speaker that we're saving the best for last. And why do I say this? She is currently General Counsel for a multilateral telecoms organization. She's a dispute resolution expert. She's a consultant. She's a trainer. She's a member of the panel of neutrals for the Lagos Court of Arbitration. She is in the and conflict management group and the Standing Conference of Mediation Advocates, the UK. She's got over 20 years of legal and commercial experience and has been a general counsel for at least 50% of that time. She has managed cross-profile, high-profile, cross-functional transactions. She's worked with senior leadership and global teams. She has worked in every area from general corporate commercial to corporate governance, ethics and compliance, labor law, dispute resolution, intellectual property, securities and finance, energy, shipping and international trade. She has done a lot. Please welcome Ms. Chinwe Odigbo-Egwu, and I'm sure I didn't pronounce it properly, but please forgive me.
No, no problem.
The Truth Advocate, award-winning, and I like that bit, award-winning General Counsel. And she's an accredited mediator and mediation advocate. She's a chartered secretary, and she's published as well, having written many books. Ms. Chinwe, welcome.
One book.
Hey, don't worry, I've spoken into the future.
Okay, I received the prophecy.
I've spoken into the future and said you've written many books. Welcome. Ms. Chinwe is focusing specifically on corporate, should I say, the corporate sector, and how to get, should I say, generate more work, generate interest, generate client bases from corporates. And this is particularly relevant because in the poll that was asked at the beginning, a lot of people said, quote, referrals were the source of their business, but also it's referrals and corporates. So the referrals get you the corporate organizations. The corporate organizations are the one that now give you the briefs. So thank you very much indeed, ma'am. Welcome, and over to you. I should tell you, we don't have a lot of time. I preface that
Yeah.
at the beginning. It has been a wonderful time. I'll stop talking and allow you to start. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Viavo. I acknowledge that there's not much time, but I'll just say thank you to Mrs. Folashade Ali, SAN, chairman of the NBA SLP group, and all the other committee members and everyone present. It's great to be here. Always a pleasure to learn and share knowledge. And thanks to the previous speakers, I feel like saying, you know what, I agree with everything the previous speakers have said, and I don't need to say more because they have said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, but yeah, so the topic, corporate retainerships, how corporates select and retain external counsel. I'm supposed to share my insights from my experience as general counsel on how law firms can better position themselves to win and sustain institutional relationships. And it's interesting listening to the other speakers from the beginning. These principles cut across, really, because yes, it's the same topic, but we're talking about different aspects or different potential clients, right? Sorry, I just want to share my screen. And let me know if you can see my screen.
Perfect. We can see your screen.
Okay, I hope it's on slideshow.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Hit the button and it will be.
Yeah, okay. Great. Okay, so yeah, like I said, everyone has really spoken on the principle. So I looked through, my materials. I was like, okay, I didn't plan to prepare any PowerPoint. I just wanted to take some notes from previous things I've done, having worked as in-house counsel. So I'd worked with a law firm before, and then I'm on my third in-house counsel role, second in the C-suite, but across FMCG and now telecoms. And, usually when it's time to get external counsel, there are different ways. You might just have one particular issue you want to deal with. You check registered law firms and check if the ones you already have relationships with can cover, or whether you need to go out to get a new law firm. But everything, just cuts across. So when I was checking my materials, I came across a presentation I did for the Young Lawyers Forum of the NBA in 2018. And I just looked at everything. I said, look, this principles cut across. So 2018 slides still relevant today. And I think the topic was pitching the proposal, how to win and sustain clients. So it's connected. And that's why this slide, talks about who the potential clients are. And you can see that this particular session covers everything, right? Not much about individuals was said, but the same principles. I'm supposed to address, corporate bodies. Someone has addressed government. Even though we didn't really specify on NGOs, but it cuts across. Foreign law firms and other local law firms are your potential clients. You can actually collaborate with other law firms, so that's why they're your potential clients. Okay. So the question is, and maybe people can drop in the chat. I know that Viavo had asked earlier, who are the clients you deal with from time to time? Now, so if you can say in the chat, what kind of practice do you deal with, right? Are you a general law firm, general practice law firm, or a boutique law firm? The reason this slide is here is because in talking about winning clients or building sustainable relationships, like the previous speaker said, personal branding is key, right? Personal branding is key, and he did a very good job of, exploring, automobile companies and then some law firms. So you need to be sure what kind of practice you have. You can't just be everything and everywhere, right? The issue about whether to do general practice or specialization, you just need to be decided whether as an individual practitioner, as a firm. It's important because these are the things the corporate, the multinationals and other corporates look at in terms of what your brand is out there. Now, there's something I think quite a number of law firms do well and some others don't bother, is the personal profiles of the lawyers. So who makes up a law firm? Who makes up a practice? Is the individuals. Yeah, some law firms focus more on the partners and senior associates. Some, don't even bother, right? They just say, okay, the partner pays my partner, and that's the person that is supposed to be like the rainmaker or the revenue generator, I think that it's very important that law firms should be concerned about the personal profiles of everyone who works in that firm. Things around the formal business registration and tax clearance, these are things that corporates look for to be sure that, it's done, and I guess we can just take it for granted that most law firms are registered. Verifiable business address or office, even after COVID, when we're doing a lot of online things and not much of in-person meetings, then it was still important to be able to verify, where the business is based. Technology. When I see law firms writing with Yahoo and Gmail, it's in this day and age, it's not just, it's not acceptable generally, where you're writing, your email is a Gmail or Yahoo, and that is your official email address. So what's there in having a website? What's there in having your own practice software and all that? And then professional social media presence has already been talked about, LinkedIn and all. Like I said, law firms should care about the individual lawyers' profiles. You should care about what people are posting on LinkedIn. And recently, people made a lot of noise about how, the US visa requirements now requires that people go into people's social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all that. Some clients do that, right? Officially, unofficially, the decision makers, out of curiosity, just want to know, okay, this particular partner that wants to handle this brief, what's the person's social media footprint? Have you Googled your name before? Have you Googled your law firm's name before and you see what comes out? And do you care about what's out there, online? So the reliability and reputation is one of the evaluation criteria that we look out for, okay? What is known about you, your firm, and and the partners and senior associates and other associates. As you know, when registering with a corporate, usually these are the things you ask for: corporate references, relevant and related to the client's field of interest, right? Previous speakers have already talked about Legal 500, chambers and partners and all that. Now, another thing is good client and case management plan. Usually, when there's a need to submit a proposal or have a conversation around something the client needs, we need to see that you have a plan. You want to deal with the client, you should have a relationship manager for the client. It can't just be everybody calling the general counsel or in-house counsel and we say, oh, who is working on this matter? Oh, this lawyer, that lawyer. You can have multiple lawyers, working on different matters, right? But in terms of front-facing or having conversations with a particular client, it's usually expected that you'd have at least one or two key people that, manage the clients, okay, and how you communicate, for instance. Each member of the firm should have very good CVs with relevant experience. These are things that are submitted for like an RFP process and all that. Now, you need to show your capabilities to provide the legal services in multiple states and the FCT. When you come to a multinational, for instance, or any company generally that has, business across Nigeria, right? We're not saying every law firm should be able to provide legal services in all 36 states and the FCT, no. But you should be able to cover at least one or two states, within a region. Or if you notice, some law firms have Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, for instance, that they are key, offices, and then they can now provide. And then that's how when I mentioned that other law firms can be your clients, it also has to do with, having associate firms, in different areas. How do you sustain or retain a client? A client calls you to say, oh, I have an issue in Akwa Ibom that I need to deal with. And you say, oh, we don't have an office in Akwa Ibom. Or you say, oh, I have an associate law firm. I can manage it from here, and this is what they will do. But if you don't have a footprint there, please be honest and transparent and say, oh, I can't cover Akwa Ibom. So just to mention, to balance that point. Capabilities to provide legal services in multiple areas of law is also something that, corporate entity will look out for. Readiness to commit to agree to SLAs. So, service level agreements. What timelines are you going to give us in providing legal opinions, for instance? What timelines will you require to review documents, to file court processes? Payment terms also need to be known ahead of time. Corporate entities usually would do an annual budget. And even though you can't really say for sure what your fees would be at a particular time, at least give some kind of, payment range for different types of services, so that people can plan ahead. Additional complementary services. Everybody likes freebies, right? So corporate legal training, seminars, conferences, legal updates or newsletters. It's really nice and refreshing when you get, newsletters and updates from clients, from law firms. Now, not a weekly or daily updates, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, but something that is relevant, right? And very relevant to the client. So some people just have a mailing list for all their clients. Some have in groups according to, the industries that their clients, serving. So these are things that you should take note of to be able to have additional complementary services. Now, another thing people also look out for when you're submitting for registration is professional indemnity insurance, adequate to cover risk from provision of the services. So just a few tips. And like I said, these slides are from 2018. So I just said, let me share them. And then I made some notes on some other additional points. I have just a few minutes left. Typos, I know. So please read very well. No legalese. Gone are the days when, it's okay to write a legal opinion that spans 20 pages. And then it gets to the general counsel, it gets to there, but I can't go and give my CEO that kind of legal opinion. So you will stress me or stress my team if I have to summarize what you've sent. So a lot of law firms now know that when you're submitting the legal opinion, if it's something that is very extensive, regardless of how many pages, you should have an executive summary that just has what the client needs to know. Start with what the client needs to know. Can I sue? Can I not sue? Chances of success, risk, contingent liability. Just start with that. The first page of any opinion or anything should have the answer. I don't think it's okay to submit something to a client and then you're giving the in-house team more work to review, redo, and summarize your work. So that has to do with legalese. Please tell us as it is. All these exaggerations of, oh, high chances of success. We've done this before, we can do it. Like Cash said, better to over-deliver, right? Than to under-promise, right? But also, don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate, and please no lies. I'm sure people are wondering, okay, why are you saying this? This is basic now. Lawyers with integrity, yeah, they're basic, but from experience, it's important to mention these things. Now, be consistent. It can be very, very odd if you sit in a meeting with maybe the general counsel and the legal team, and then they tell you, oh, okay, our CEO wants to meet with you as well. Or maybe the regional general counsel or corporate general counsel or so on from outside Nigeria. And then you get into the meeting and you're saying something else. It's not very great. So just be consistent in terms of timelines, in terms of your approach, your style. Yeah, there's flexibility, but consistency here has to do with the integrity of what you're doing. Just to balance it, brevity is key, but not at the expense of substance. So while we're saying don't come with a 20-page opinion, we're also saying do not leave out something that is essential for the client to know or consider when having the issuing the opinion. Be organized and make no assumptions, please. Then think outside the box, but don't jump out. When I saw this, I just laughed, like I said, it's from 2018, so in trying to find solutions, yeah, we expect you to be innovative. We expect you to, think outside the box, but jumping out is like, just going to the extreme. So please avoid that and never give up in the sense that, we expect that you're just going to be consistently positive. That's really important. The client can read body language, can hear the words, the tone of email and all that. When a client feels that, the external counsel, has given up on something, then it doesn't really help, right? It's always good to say the truth, how things are, but at the same time, you'd have to maintain a positive attitude. And then just a few notes, different from what I had done in 2018, like I said. Like I said, previous speakers already covered most of the things, but I wanted to say that, in networking, Mr. Yusuf Haruna talked about networking, attending conferences, meeting people. I just wanted to say that, I don't know if you've noticed, you go for a conference and you see general counsel, in-house counsel, you're like, oh, please, can we have your card? Can we call? And they're just avoiding giving you their numbers, avoiding it's because it can be tiring when all the person is focused on doing is just making the connect and chasing work. So my advice is, connect on mutual interests. Don't focus on your potential brief. Just connect on mutual interest. You see something interesting, share with the person, build a relationship, rather than just chase work all the time, knowing that, as you know, legal teams will tell you that the legal team is seen as a cost center and limited budget. So it's not every time that there's enough work to give law firms. So just, build the connection, maintain the connection, and see how in the future, that kind of thing can work. Okay. And then I think Mr. Tayo, our lecturer on marketing, talked about, your unique selling point or your value proposition, right? You should be able to communicate what you have to offer, as a law firm at every point in time. And this is not just for the partners, the senior associates. Everybody should be able to say what this law firm does, right? And you should be able to communicate it in very simple terms. We talked about social media as well, another point. And what I'll just encourage everyone to do is just go and do a social media audit. Google your name, Google the name of your firm, do a social media audit, because guess what? Some comments you made on Facebook during the election some years ago or during NSAS might haunt you in the future. So if you have to delete some things, delete them, and be very cautious about how, how you show up. We just say, oh, that's my personal life, my professional life is separate, but everything is intertwined. So I think you should also consider that when it comes to winning briefs and sustaining relationships with potential clients, right? LinkedIn is very important, like has been said by previous speakers. I know that Cash mentioned things around trust, professionalism, and transparency. I totally agree. It's the same principles, really. And when people want to know how great you are in a particular area of law, they check what you've written, articles, or seminars that you've attended, that you've spoken at, or even when there's a seminar, you're not a speaker, but the kind of questions or contributions you make, these things matter. So two more or three more points I want to make. Two are connected. One is when they say KYC, people are used to saying know your customer, but I would say know your client. I've had a few experiences where people come in to pitch for work and they don't know anything about the company. They say, oh yeah, I saw something on your website. They can't really tell what the business is about. And even when it's an RFP that is connected to a particular, subject matter, they're not able to really cover. They're just talking about the firm, their track record, but you can't really connect with the corporate entity you want to work for. You don't know what the corporate entity does. You don't understand the business, And the second point, which I said is connected, is understanding the client's needs I need to achieve this. I have a problem, maybe with my supply chain, right? Or my customer base, maybe like I'm an FMCG. I have too many distributors. I have 70 distributors. I want to have key distributors. I want to terminate I just don't want to have too many direct relationships with too many distributors for the 36 states and the FCT. Now, I want a law firm to advise me on how to change the business model, right? And then the person doesn't even understand what products are, what supply chain, whether it's trucks or whether it's by road, by air, by sea that I move my goods. There's some things you can do research about and you can understand, from research. Then there's some things you need to ask the client. But if you get into a pitch meeting, and then all you're doing is asking questions and you have no clue on what to advise, then you won't be able to provide the confidence that is needed for them to give you that brief or win you over. I think the final point I want to make is having knowledge outside the law. Business acumen is very key. And this is not about going to study an MBA. But just business acumen, a little bit about finance, a little bit about the macro factors. When they talk about macro, the economy, different things. It's important that when you get into conversations with potential clients or actual clients, you're able to say things beyond the legal things, right? Because it really helps when it's a lawyer that has business acumen, or it's a lawyer that understands AI, or a lawyer that understands, technology generally, or a lawyer that understands, the regulatory framework beyond the law, stakeholder management, a lawyer that can step up to help beyond what's going on. I mean, there was a time when I was in a law firm and the clients from outside Nigeria wanted us to do election watch, and it was easy to do because one or two people could, step up to do that. There's some things that some clients want that are not core legal, and a law firm is better suited to do them. It's just in recent times, the past few years that you talk about lawyers doing things like board evaluation, for instance. Some law firms train to do that. Some lawyers also do, what we do, the data protection audits and data protection submissions and all that. It just shows you that the traditional law we used to do before has moved beyond, where it used to be, So I think I'll just end with those points I've made to say that I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to be able to sustain, client relationship, to build that relationship and sustain it. And I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, really, to be able to win briefs and sustain them. And, in terms of trying to get work from maybe like a particular company, I mean, there are many, many, many companies, there are many potential clients. So, I mean, you try one, it doesn't work, go to the next one and keep trying until you get the client that you need to get. I think the final point, I've been saying final, but this is the very final one, is you also need to be conscious about conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, you're working for a particular company and you're pitching to the company's competitor. You need to disclose that relationship, right? And then the company can decide whether they want to work with you or not, right? I don't think it's okay that a client will find out that they have given you confidential information, and in the end, there's a conflict of interest situation because you did not disclose your prior relationship with a particular company that is a competitor, and it's going to affect your ability to, remain neutral in the brief that the company was given. So thanks again for inviting me, and thanks everyone for listening. Looking forward to taking questions. Thank you.
Truly, we've saved the best for last.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chinwe. I do appreciate hearing from the business, so to speak, in terms of how to approach corporate organizations. Thank you. And, what strikes me is that the bulk of our attendees were saying in terms of work sources that there were corporate organizations. And now we've gotten a blueprint as to what to look for, how to present yourself, and how to put your best foot forward, so to speak. I think today has been phenomenal for our first webinar. And I think I will congratulate the chairman of the subcommittee for law firm management, because he's done a phenomenal job in
Fantastic.
picking everybody to handle this webinar. Now we have some questions. I think everybody on the whole, the wonderful thing when you have a very good presentation is there may not be a lot of questions. There will be some, but not a lot, because it just shows that we have been able to understand thoroughly what was being presented. One statement that has come out quite a bit is that everybody wants presentation slides, because we want to be able to assimilate this information in our own time, and also to put it in practice. For some people like Mr. Balogun that didn't really use slides, you now have an interesting proposition, which is you needed to have been paying attention. So we have slides from Mr. Haruna, slides from Professor Otubajo, and slides from Ms. Odigbo Egu. Now, I do have a couple of questions that I have noted down, and I will ask them. So, Mr. Haruna, are you still here? Mr. Balogun, are you still here? Professor Otubajo, are you still here? And I know Ms. Chinwe is here.
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So,
Yes.
excellent. Let me address the first question to Mr. Haruna. There was a very interesting question that was posed, and I think it definitely requires answering. Now, in speaking about the opportunities involved in public-private partnership, one of the questions that was raised was if there is specialized training for lawyers by the ICRC. And that's number one. Number two would be if you could expand on the associations or bodies involved in, should I say, the public procurement space. And I think that was just a case of at least trying to understand where to go in terms of associations and bodies. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, moderator, for this question. So from the ICRC, we have a training institution that we run scheduled programs on public-private partnerships. And I know the Bureau for Public Procurement does the same thing. But when it comes to issues of collaboration, I think the office will be willing to partner with the committee on legal on the firms. Yeah, if you can write to us, we can see how we can partner and how we can have collaborations. I mean, we'll be happy to give a lot more guidance, a lot more. We'll be glad to train members that are interested. Yeah, but outside that, we have a training school and we have scheduled courses. People can go online, see, and participate in any of them. I mean, apart from the generic PP courses, we have specialized ones on negotiation, financial modeling, structuring. So you can just pick and me at your convenience here. But I'm sure we're still open to partnerships here as a commission.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, sir. So everyone, you have heard it first. They do have training. The best place moving forward to get that training will be under the law firm management subcommittee, and we shall be looking forward to engaging with ICRC and organizing some specific training for our members. So if you're not already a member, please go and join the SLP and take the benefits of having webinars like this and indeed the trainings that will be coming. Thank you very much indeed. And I think my next question is directed to Professor Otubajo. Prof, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So one of the comments that was made, and I think I touched on this in our conversation earlier, was the fact that as lawyers, there's a restriction on advertising based on our rules of professional conduct. And my colleague was asking, how do we put our best foot forward? How do we put ourselves forward based on those existing restrictions?
Okay, so like you said, we had a conversation earlier, and I'm going to repeat what I said. We have a lot of lesson. We lawyers, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I mean, lawyers have a lot to learn from healthcare institutions. The same law that gags lawyers or law firms from advertising, I think the same law gags healthcare institutions from doing the same, from advertising. If you take it a step further, if you look at the FMCG, particularly beer companies that sell beer, Guinness, Nigerian breweries, at a point in this country, there was a law that was promulgated by the military government in 1988 that says that alcohol companies cannot advertise until 10 p.m. But we found a way around it. And what did that particular industry do? If you remember, when Nigerian breweries, when Nigerian Tobacco Company was stopped from advertising, what did they do? They created what they call the Benson and Hedges Grab the Mic contest. And if you remember, it was the Grab the Mic contest that produced Two-Face, Plantation Boys, and the rest of them. Now, in spite of the fact that these companies laws were promulgated at that point in time, gagging these companies from advertising, what they did was to play on visibility by creating all sorts of contests that a lot of Nigerians, a lot of customers were interested in. And it was as if these companies have never really, it was as if these companies were not barred from advertising. Today, you will agree with me that there is a law that gags Nigerian breweries from advertising on TV and radio. But what did they do? They created the Gulder Ultimate Search. The Gulder Ultimate Search is an idea, is a game that attracts nearly every TV station in Nigeria with the name Gulder, with the brand name Gulder adorning the program. So what these companies do when they are asked, what these companies have done, those in the alcohol beverage sector and those in healthcare, what they have done is to create programs that people are, their customers are likely to be interested in. And it has really worked for them. There's a company called Pathcare. I think they were called Pathcare, but I think they are now called Synlab. So what Synlab has done over the years, it's a healthcare company. What they have done over the years is to do what they call market storm. They do market storm across the country. And during the market storm, this particular firm offer free medical care. And this has kept the Pathcare or the Synlab brand at the top of the mind of their customers. So much so that, anytime a test is about to be done, the first thing that comes into the minds of medical personnel across hospitals is go to Synlab. So what you want to do is to look inwards to see what could be done, what you could do. For instance, nothing stops a lawyer, a law firm, nothing stops a law firm from creating a radio program to educate young Nigerians about how to set up business, what to watch out for when they are setting up business, the legal implication of limited liability and wholesale and so on, sole trader and so on and so forth on TV and radio. Nothing stops, a law firm from doing that. By the time that is done, you are going to have a lot of people looking for you to advise them. And in the process of providing advisory services, more briefs will come in. So the point I'm making is that lawyers will have to look inwards. It's not something that I can do here, giving you ideas on what you need to do, but you've got to look inwards to see what sort of engagements you can have, what sort of engagements you can have with your clients, with Nigerians, with our people, and what will be the benefits of that. You've got to articulate that. But I think the most important thing is that if you have a law firm, you need to call your team for a brainstorming session to identify the things that can be done to circumnavigate the process in such a way that you don't infringe the law, but then you're able to communicate your brand in the most effective way. But before I end this particular aspect of the communication, let me reiterate myself. The first thing you've got to do as a law firm is to define why anybody should appoint you as their legal officer. If you do not do that, you are not helping yourself. We know when we are buying a Volvo, we know what we are getting. It's safety. When we are buying a Toyota, we know we are getting economy. If I'm buying legal services from Fabumi and Co., what am I getting? Thank you very much.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Very great points, Professor Tyre. In fact, I'm just getting a lot of comments saying how fantastic and illustrative that is. In terms of visibility, we must be visible. You should think of new ways to be visible. Radio shows are there, writing articles, becoming a thought leader, or writing some of your thoughts and publishing it so that when there is a Google search, your name comes up or your firm name comes up. In fact, and also, if I can echo what Ms. Chinwe mentioned about making sure that your social media presence matches what your firm is saying. Your firm's social media presence should reflect what your firm is saying so that there's a consistency in the message. Thank you very much indeed, Prof. We don't have any more questions. Actually, we have one, but I'm not sure who it is addressed to. It says for the lead presenter, and I presume that would be Mr. Haruna. You mean the first presenter? But I'm not sure how relevant it is. So, Mr. Austin Odige, please rephrase your question so that it is very clear. Prof, somebody asked, as a growing firm that wants to partner and intends to partner with other firms, what are the things the firm should look out for in the other firm? Really, Prof, I can take this question myself because I'm very aware. I also want to thank Ms. Chinwe and Mr. Cash. They have both asked for permission to drop off now because they have some other time commitments. We've spent 2 hours here. It has been a very impactful time. The time has flown, but unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. We haven't quite gotten there yet. I have one more question for Prof, which I will try and reflect on, and I'll let Prof jump in as well. Prof, the question was, if you're partnering with another firm, what do you look out for? And my personal thinking is really, it's about common interests, shared values, and having a common approach. So white cannot join with black. You must have similarities in terms of either the principles or the business ideals or the common vision of the firms must be aligned for you to be able to work together. Because you cannot work with people that you can't get on with. And it comes down to that. If the principal on the other firm's approach to working does not align with yours, then you guys will struggle to work together. However, collaboration is key in that we should have a desire to collaborate. We should be open to collaboration, but like follows like. So you must also have your value system reflected. What do you think, Prof?
You're absolutely spot on. In marketing and branding, we call it co-branding. Years ago, we had a case of MTN. Sorry, we had a case of GTB before they became GTCO. GTB and Total. GTB and Total came together, you know, from different sectors of the economy. They came together to create what we call co-branding, strategic partnership. And why were they able to do so? Because they had the same brand values of simplicity, of professionalism. Because they shared these same core values, they were able to come together to create a system whereby anywhere you see a Total Freight filling station, you will find a GTB ATM card. So you are very spot on. Collaboration, if you are collaborating with any firm, the core values are very, very important. You've got to watch out for what is critical to them. If integrity is critical to you, then the company or the legal firm you want to do business with or you want to collaborate with, integrity must be at the center of what they do. And that is how to do co-branding. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And there was another comment, conflict of interest. If there is conflict of interest, I think that is something that you would need to identify pretty much at the early stages of the conversation. So you can play in the same field, so to speak, but you should not be chasing each other's clients. So in terms of conflict of interest, I think that's something that we would need to be aware of. And there's more than enough law firms to go around. So there's a lot of clients potentially to do business with. So we'll take it from that. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to have the vote of thanks by the Vice Chair of the Law Firm Management Committee, Sadaya El Rafai. And then afterwards, we will close. Thank you very much for your patience. Again, it's been 2 hours, over 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like that because I believe everybody has received value. If Sadir, if you can just give us the vote of thanks, please, and we shall draw our webinar to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. We had a truly engaging and insightful session. In just 2 hours, we have heard so many practical and inspiring ideas about how law firms can position themselves for real and sustainable growth. On behalf of the Law Firm Management Committee of the MBA section on legal practice, I want to sincerely thank all our panelists for sharing their wealth of experience. Mr. Yusuf Haruna, thank you. Mr. Kash Balogun, thank you. Professor Tayo Otubanjo, thank you. Ms. Chinwe Ogibo Eku, thank you very much for all sharing such rich perspectives. And to our able moderator, Diavo, thanks for steering and keeping us on track. If there's one key takeaway today, we've heard that opportunities are everywhere in the government, that's the public sector, the corporate world, and even in diaspora. But the real task really lies in positioning ourselves, our firms, to be seen, to be trusted and chosen. Skill is important, yes, but so are credibility, relationships, and visibility. This is the formula that paves way for the referrals that we have been speaking about today. To our chair, Mrs. Folashade Ali SAN, thank you so much for your leadership and commitment to helping law firms thrive. And to every participant that joined us from across the country and beyond. I've seen someone from Malaysia. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Let's keep building firms that inspire confidence, one client at a time. Thank you for being part of this all. And I do hope that we have taken away today from this session what will fetch us our next brief and many more. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, ma'am. Well, on that note, I would like to thank everybody. Thank SLP and our chairperson, Mrs. Ali. Thank Mr. Kayode Fabumi, who's the head of the Law Firm Management Committee, and thank all the other members of the committee. This has been an illuminating session. It's been the first, and it's not the last. What we're going to experience in the next 2 years of our tenure and cycle shall be impacts like this, that we should be able to depend on, we'll be able to leverage off, and indeed grow our legal practices. Thank you very much. My name is Viavo Kuponuusu from Blackstone Legal Advisory. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.